Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another video. It's good to be back. We're talking about continuous probability distributions. What a mouthful. But before we do, let's start with a joke. Which one am I going to do today? Oh, boy. What type of people like to eat snails? People who don't like fast food. All right, let's get into it. So, again, we're talking about continuous probability distributions. Now, in essence, what it is we're looking at, I guess, a more succinct way to kind of find some probabilities, especially if we know what the probability distribution looks like. And today we're going to look about relative frequency. Now, if you guys wanted to, with the start, just figure out what is the difference between relative frequency and theoretical probability. What we said was relative frequency is, I guess, what happens in the experimental world, whereas theoretical is, whatever it is in theory. And the difference between frequency histogram and cumulative frequency histogram is a cumulative frequency histogram will actually add up, and you'll find that later on when we do CDFs, they become helpful when we read things out like median, quartiles, percentiles. They're helpful for us. Okay, so relative frequency, let's not forget stuff that we've learned from primary. Your probability is always going to be the number of favorable outcomes over the number of total outcomes. Same thing. Now, the other parts that are, I guess, helpful for your probability distributions is your mean or your expected value, or E of X. And it's kind of represented by mu. And you also have your variance, which is kind of like your standard deviation squared. If you've forgotten, it's the symbol that kind of looks like this, right? And that's just squaring it. And it's given by e to the x squared, take away mean squared. Now, we'll have a go at remembering how to do these, but let's take a look here. So an experiment of tossing a coin 50 times. Let's say, for example, we rolled 0 heads 3 times, 1 head 12, 12 heads 13, 3 heads 15, 4 heads 7 times. Now, this is an unlikely experiment, but we're just going to say we took 50 times where we only rolled between 0 and 4 heads, okay? And so we're not counting if we tossed 5 or 6 or 7 or more than that. We're just looking between 0 and 4. Now, we're going to find the mean and variance, but this is a bit of a recap and I guess how to find mean and variance, or how to use this table, or even just the terminology. Now, X is your score. So in this case, it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That makes sense. F stands for frequency. Okay, so frequency means how many times it happens. So for us, and I'm going to write in blue. Okay, if we take a look here, how many times did we get 0? Well, it'll be 3. How many times did we get 1? Well, 12, 13, 15, 7. Now that's for frequency. Now, the next thing that they'll kind of ask, and sometimes they'll call it the probability of the thing happening, or sometimes they'll call it the relative frequency. Depends on which one they choose to put in, but that's what it is. If you see F and a little r, that is relative frequency. Right, and I'll write it here, relative frequency. So that just means the probability. So that means here, there's a probability of 3 out of a total of, we said 50 tosses, 50 tosses, right? So 3 on 50, 12 on 50, 13 on 50. Oh, yeah, 15 on 50, and 7 on 50. Okay. Now, to find the mean, technically we can go straight ahead and find the mean here. And I wonder if I've left room for this. Yeah. So to find the mean, this is enough information. The mean, or the expected value, is this thing where we go 0 times 3 on 50 plus 1 times 12 on 50 plus 2 times 13 on 50. Right, so it's this times this plus this times this plus this times this. That's where I'm getting the numbers from. I'll clean that up so it doesn't get too confusing. And then plus 3 times 15 on 50 plus 4 times 15 on 50. Okay, you put that in your calculator, that will give you your expected value. it should be maybe roughly 2 point something. That's what we're kind of looking at. Now for the variance, your variance is going to be a little bit similar. Now it's going to help if we have, I guess, your x squared term here. So I actually didn't put one in, but that's okay. I'm going to put one in right here at the bottom. Okay, let's say that there's a x squared. All right, so what we do here is we find the x squareds. So whatever x is, you square it. So 0 squared is 0, 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. Hopefully that's making a bit of sense. And now you do the same thing. And you go 0 times 3 on 50, that's still the same, plus 1 times 12 on 50, plus, and now this time I'm going to go 4, right? 4 times 13 on 50 squared, plus this time 9 times 15 on 50, and then plus 16 times 7 on 50. And then once you got all of that, that's your E of your x squared. All right, that part there. And then you also need to take away your EX or your, what do you call it? Your expected value or your mean, right? And you take that away, whatever you calculated there. I'm not going to put in the calculator for today. You can do that yourself, but that's the general idea. Now, I've also added in these two other these columns here for cumulative frequency, because there's going to be a difference if we sketch the relative frequency and the cumulative frequency. So for this one here, let's do cumulative frequency. So that means everything just adds up. All right, so in this case, if we've just counted the 0 scores, that means we've counted up to 3. Now, if we add how many that we've added up with the score of 1, it's going to be 3 plus 12, right? Or to be more precise, it's going to be this number plus that number. That's going to give us 15. Okay. This is going to be fun. And then now we go 15 plus 13. So 15 plus 13. So those two numbers now, and that's going to be 28. Okay. And then now we go, once we've got that 28, we pass it with that number up there. 28 plus 15, that's 43. And the last one is once we got 43, we pass it by 7. That'll give us 50. Okay, that's CF is cumulative frequency. Now, if I've got C of FR, that means it's the cumulative of the relative frequencies. So in other words, we're going to add up these columns here, kind of like we did before. Now, what's nice is if we've done your cumulative frequency, it becomes very easy. It's the exact same numbers, but instead of just 3, it's going to be over 50. Instead of 15, it's going to be over 50. So far and so forth. 28, 43, and 50. Now, all your cumulatives should add up to your cumulative frequencies, relative frequencies should always add up to 1, because your probability of an event should always add up to 1 if you add up. And same thing for if you're adding these should equal to your total amount of rolls. Okay, so there's that. Now to sketch the relative frequency histogram, I'll do B over here and C over here. I'm not going to do them perfect, but let's just do something like this. So if it's cumulative frequency, or if it's just frequency, and we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And here we'll go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for cumulative frequency, we go all the way up to 50. And for the other one here, for your frequencies, we have at most kind of like a 15. So maybe we'll put 15 there. So with your relative frequency, you just kind of, whatever they are, whether they're lower or higher, you kind of fill those guys out. Whereas with the cumulative frequency, you use the numbers where they always add up. So it should technically continue to go upwards. All right, so I apologize. I'm not going to go through it today because I feel like it'll be boring watching me do this. But say, for example, let me do the first one. I keep saying stuff and then I do it. So when the score is 0, my frequency is 3. So when it's 0, my frequency is 3. When my score is 1, my frequency is 12. So that means I'm going to go all the way up to 12. Score of 2 goes to 13, so slightly more. Score of 3 goes to 15, so that's probably the big one. And then a score of 4 is to 7. And again, I'm just eyeballing here. You would probably get grid paper or something to do a bit better. Now, if I'm doing my cumulative frequency, it means I add up. So it's going to be 3, 15, 28. So we'll go first to like 3, and then to like 15, and then to like 28. And then from 28, it goes to like 43. Right, fairly large. And then from there it goes to 50. So that's kind of what it looks like. If you were to draw your polygon, it'll look like a little bit like this. Now I should probably make a note. I think we join them up from the, I guess, the inside corner. Right, technically going back down, same thing here. That would be what we call the polygon or the ogive. Okay, that's the line. So you can see how the cumulative is always going to add up to your total, whereas your frequency is just kind of dependent on your frequency. That's the main things to understand in this chapter. Hope that makes sense. I'll catch you guys later in the next video. Bye-bye.